So I wanted to make another video on books that I'm reading. Um, right now, I'm reading Science Cures and Witchery. Wait, let's see if you see it. It's kind of shiny. It's by Gerald Milnes. I think I shared this on my folk magic video, but I hadn't read it yet, so I didn't get to really give a good explanation of it. I'm only about halfway through, but I'm like in love with this book. I already discussed the use of tickets in German Appalachian folk magic, and it's really interesting. I'm learning a lot. Like, there's a lot of things I want to put into practice already. The book kind of starts out talking about. I'm only halfway through, so I'll read you what's coming up next. It starts out talking about. Well, not in the beginning, but it starts about talking how German immigrants came to Pennsylvania and then why they started moving into the Appalachians, like West Virginia, the Carolinas, etc. And then it talked about the reasonings for moving, such as like religion and all the sorts of things like that. And then it talks about the religions that sort of were born here, I guess you could say. The different Protestant groups and everything that kind of arose out of the German immigrants as the little collectives they were making. After that, the author kind of talks about, because he's doing he's studying this all himself. He's going around and interviewing people and finding out information for himself and checking out different historical documents and whatnot. I guess that's what he is implying anyway that he's doing. And I just read about some of like witch doctoring and some of the cures and different things and some different ways of hexing and the use of tickets and whatnot, and how the folk practices that they have, the magical and occult practices, don't stop them from regularly practicing the usual religious practices. Like, it kind of is brought together, and that the things that they do, God is bringing that to them, so it doesn't conflict. There's none of this is demonic or anything according to them. So it's not really, I guess, I don't know if they would consider it witchcraft. They call it witch doctoring in some places. So I don't think they have an issue really with it, because they still do the regular religious practices. I'm gonna have to open the book. Next, what's coming up in here, because I totally think you should get this book if you're into folklore and folk magic and practices, and then, even if you're just like maybe a history nerd too, because there's a lot of history in here and I like it. So next we're gonna go into right now I'm reading about how to make Granny Grease, which I really want to try and make. I'm not going to make the traditional one because it talks about using like hog lard, turpentine, and some other things. I think I'm going to use the one where there's one called like mutton weed or something. There's two different herbs that I can get. It's camphor, beeswax, and linseed oil. And I'm going to try and make that and test it on myself before I try and use it on others. It sounds really good. I mean, these practices and things that they're using, like using a skunk fat to make a salve sort of thing. They call it a plaster. Well, they put soak a cloth in something and like put it on your chest or something and call it a plaster. But I'm guessing they're using the granny grease and everything, so it has to be not super hard. I think it would be, the consistency would probably be softer than chapstick, from what I'm guessing. That's how I'm gonna make mine. But next we're going into tokens water witching, which sounds really interesting. Dairy products, spells, charms, and confrontations, magical places and substances, the pack, witch balls, conjuring, divination, magical imprints, revels, and bell snickles, which I have no idea what that is, but it sounds really cool. And the book was, I think, $30 or $35, and it's really small, but it's really worth it. Like, I hadn't heard anything about this book before. I kind of read. I asked a couple people who are really into folklore, and they haven't read it either, so I think they're waiting on my review of this once I'm finished. And I think I might let one of them borrow it, even though books are my babies. But when you're a poor student, you gotta support other poor students by sharing sometimes. Plus, I trust this person anyway. But yeah, it's really interesting. And I totally forgot what I was gonna say. But I'm really interested to learning more about the different practices that they have, and then also their divination practices too. I'm really interested in finding that out. I'll probably make another video when I finally finish it. I should just make videos when I'm done with the book, but then I'll forget what happens at the beginning and we'll go into sequence, and then I'll turn into this big mess, kind of like I'm doing now. I'm only halfway through. But they do follow an almanac, like a farmer's almanac. They have, the German Appalachian people had their own that was in print, that was different from, I think there was one printed by English settlers or Pennsylvania settlers or something, and theirs had kind of the other one, the regular farmer. I think it's just the regular farmer's almanac that you can get now that it's pretty popular. Kind of um, when they like put the body up. If you guys are familiar with the picture of the body with the different astrological signs, they didn't give full details about it. And they kind of made it seem like it wasn't, that it was more of a something the people before them had believed in, but they just put it in kind of just because it's always been in there. And whereas in the German almanac, I need to figure out the name of it. It's at the beginning of the book, so I'm not going to sit here and plow through it. They actually have they really believe in doing things under the right sign, like and doing the different body parts according to the sign and everything. There's one picture I'm gonna check right now because it's right. I just passed it, where he has this huge chart. The author, I mean not the author, but one of the people that the author interviewed, with this chart of astrological advice. And let's see if I can get that on there properly. And that's a huge chart. I mean, they're really into it. It's really interesting that they go by the signs and everything. For people who are supposed to be like religious Christians and everything, it's kind of funky. And I love that they're an oral tradition for the most part. I wish that when I have children, I really want to pass things down to them. And so to know that these things that these people know, this vast knowledge that they have, it's still an oral tradition for the most part, this has been passed down for a long time. And so I really want to teach my kids, and when I have them, and have it become like this oral tradition sort of thing. I want to keep a tradition going. And their knowledge is like extremely vast. With us, most people like to like hop on the computer. Like I know I do it. Hop on a computer, grab a book, flip through it. These people have everything stuck in their brain that they've worked for. One guy said he had worked with 900 herbs and plants in his lifetime for curing and different magical purposes as well as medicinal purposes, and that he remembered all the uses. I guess I'm not sure if that's entirely true, but for somebody who's used them, who's had to push the limits of their mind their whole life by remembering all these different things and working with things, I don't doubt that he's telling the truth. So yeah, I hope you guys get it. If you're interested, pick up this book. It's really interesting. And once I finish it, I might do another video on how the end goes, because I'm really excited to finish reading it. If I can get reading done between my school, my business, and other fun little things. So yeah, thanks again for watching another one of my videos. See you next time, I guess.